Have you already mastered inversions in question forms? Do you wonder why sometimes the auxiliary verb and the subject have switched places in a statement? Then join me in this lesson to review the most common cases of inversions. Hello and welcome everyone, this is Minu at AngloLink. Today we're going to look at inversions. This is when you have to put the auxiliary verb before the subject. I'm sure you're all very familiar with this type of structure in question forms. For example, what does Tim need? Or how often has this happened before? However, inversions are not just used in questions. You may have heard sentences like, not only does Tim need money, but moral support as well. Or, rarely has this happened before. By the end of this lesson, you will have a clear idea of different expressions and structures that require an inversion. So when you're ready, let's begin.
Inversions. Inversion means putting the verb before the subject. Let's look at inversions in informal English. The most common case of inversion is in formulating questions. For example, here's a statement, Oliver is looking for a new job. To change this into a question, you put the auxiliary is before the subject Oliver. Is Oliver looking for a new job? Another common case is after the expressions so, neither, or nor to express that the same is true of someone or something else. Let's look at a positive sentence. For example, Oliver is looking for a new job. How about Ellie? Let's say that Ellie is 2, or you can simply say Ellie too. Or you can start with the word so and then use an inversion. So is Ellie. In a negative sentence, we use neither or nor. So if our sentence is, Oliver isn't looking for a new job, how about Ellie? You can say, Ellie isn't either, or simply, Ellie neither. Or you can start with neither or nor and then invert. Neither is Ellie, nor is Ellie. Now, let's look at inversions in formal English. Other cases of inversion are mainly found in formal English. Certain expressions come to the beginning of the sentence for emphasis and are then followed by an inversion. We can divide these expressions into 5 groups. The first group is negative adverbial expressions and negative frequency adverbs. For example, under no circumstances is a negative expression. If you put that at the beginning of the sentence, you need to switch the subject and the verb around. Under no circumstances should we accept these terms. Another negative expression, in no way. In no way could James have passed that test without cheating. Or, at no time have we suspected foul play. Not until I have spoken to everyone will I be able to make a decision. Little did they know what their children had been up to. Okay, let's look at some negative frequency adverbs. Seldom. Seldom had Fred met such an intriguing person. Rarely. Rarely does Anna get involved in gossip. Never. Never has he felt so betrayed. And finally, hardly ever. Hardly ever do they talk to their neighbors. Okay, let's look at the second group. These are adverbial expressions beginning with only and not only. For example, only when the plane had landed did Lisa manage to open her eyes? Only if they agree to these terms will we be able to work with them. Or start with not only. Not only was it a long process, but it was also quite complicated. Right, let's look at the third group. These are the words hardly, scarcely, and no sooner, and we use them when one action follows another immediately. For example, hardly had I shut my eyes when my mobile phone rang. Or, scarcely had Ken left the building when the police arrived. No sooner had we arrived than the meal was served. So notice that the first action is always in the past perfect tense. Hardly had I shut. Scarcely had Ken left. No sooner had we arrived. And the second action is always in the past simple tense. My mobile phone rang. The police arrived. The meal was served. And also notice that, as for linking expressions, with hardly and scarcely we use when, and with no sooner we use than. Okay, let's look at the fourth category in inversions in formal English, and that is in conditional sentences, when a word replaces if. Let's look at the first conditional sentence. If you require any assistance, or if you should require any assistance, I will be in my office. Here, the word should comes to the beginning of the sentence to replace if. Should you require any assistance, I will be in my office. Let's look at the second conditional. For example, if we renegotiated this deal, we would be more lenient than before. As you know, there's a formal way of saying this, and that is, if we were to renegotiate this deal, we would be more lenient than before. And it is the word were that comes to the beginning of the sentence and replaces if. Were we to renegotiate this deal, we would be more lenient than before. And finally, in the third conditional, if Jeremy had been truthful in the first place, he would not have been punished so severely. It's the auxiliary verb had that comes to the beginning of the sentence and replaces if. Had Jeremy been truthful in the first place, he would not have been punished so severely. Now, a small note about the second conditional. Note that if the verb in the if clause of a conditional to sentence is to be, where on its own is enough. So, for example, if the conditional sentence is, if he were my son, I would encourage him to go to college, you would simply put where at the beginning instead of if. Were he my son, I would encourage him to go to college. You don't need to say, were he to be my son, I would encourage him to go to college. And the final category is prepositions and adverbial expressions of place, including here and there. Just a quick note that after these you must use the main verb, not the auxiliary verb. So, for example, into the room came 3 nurses. Or, over the table hung a huge chandelier. Here is the report. There goes your nephew. Okay? An important note about inversions after prepositions and adverbs of place. Make sure that you do not use an inversion if you have a pronoun. For example, into the room they came. Here it is. There he goes. Right then, let's finish with some exercises. Rewrite the original sentence by starting with the highlighted word or words. For example, she'd never seen that painting. Me neither. She'd never seen that painting. Neither Neither had I. Okay, let's get started. Number 1. I don't get on with them. My brother neither. I don't get on with them. Neither. Neither does my brother. Number 2. I'd rather seek specialist advice. Peter too. I'd rather seek specialist advice. So would Peter. Number 3. She didn't join the expedition. Sarah neither. She didn't join the expedition, nor did Sarah. Number 4. Harry mustn't find out under any circumstances. Under no circumstances must Harry find out. Number 5. We can't watch television until the guests have left. Not until the guests have left can we watch television. Number 6. We only remembered her name after she had left. Only after she had left did we remember her name. Number 7. She was not only demanding, but also rude. Not only was she demanding, but also rude. Number 8. I had hardly uttered a word when he interrupted me. Hardly. Hardly had I uttered a word when he interrupted me. Number 9. As soon as the taxi stopped, he jumped into it. No sooner had the taxi stopped than he jumped into it. Number 10. If you should need me, call me on this number. Should. Should you need me, call me on this number. Number 11. If we returned this item, would we get a refund? Where? Were we to return this item, would we get a refund? Number 12. A tall chimney stood on the roof. On the roof stood a tall chimney. Number 13. There it goes, your lovely cat. There goes your lovely cat. Right, that's the end of this lesson on inversions. I hope you enjoyed it. As you know, you can now go to our website, anglolink.com, for more lessons and exercises. Thank you for watching. I look forward to seeing you in my next lesson. Bye now.